Dr. Jacob with us here in the studio, and the NSA, we have the Raksha Mantri present there, and we also have Prime Minister Narendra Modi at LKM. There is this high-level meeting. The CDS is present there. So are we moving?
The External Affairs Minister is also there.
Yeah, so he's also come. So big meeting. So everybody has been saying what's happening, what's the punitive action, is there something kinetic that's going to happen? Dr. Shashi Tharoor just now said we should expect something kinetic because this has happened 15, 16 times, so something strong has to happen, punitive has to happen. The CCS meeting is expected on Wednesday, that's tomorrow. Yeah. So now if these people are in a huddle, what does that imply? Zaka?
Look, I've been hearing sort of unconfirmed reports since morning that there is action happening at multiple locations in Jammu and Kashmir. Either this is a taking stock meeting, which explains why the Defence Minister is there, the CDS is there, the National Security Advisor is there, and obviously the External Affairs Minister is there because clearly whatever action is being taken has international ramifications, certainly has diplomatic ramifications. These are some of your highest points persons when it comes to India's national security. So it is for two things, I would imagine. One is to try and assess what has been going on in what we've been hearing about these counter-terrorism operations that are happening in different parts of Jammu and Kashmir, and two, of course, to set the stage for tomorrow's Cabinet Committee on Security. I think both of these things will be discussed in today's meeting, and I think it's a very, very important meeting that's happening
But earlier in the day, we've had the DGBSF, the Assam Rifles, the SSP, and all the para forces, all of them having a meeting. There has been a conversation there. Rahul Shivshankar, your reading on this. This is on a day when the External Affairs Minister has had a conversation with Cyprus and Greece. Siddhant was telling us this information. So clearly, if Turkey is openly backing Pakistan, we are going to some of the other nations around the place to say, all right, we're going to do. So there is a lot of psyops that is going on. But along with this shadow boxing, are we seeing something move on ground?
Look, let's separate this into the immediate steps, the long-term steps, and the mid-term steps. So when you're talking about India now opening or perhaps deepening equations with countries like Cyprus, Greece, etc., to sort of poke Turkey in the eye, those are slightly longer-term policies, decision-making, strategies, tactics. Let's park those aside. This particular meeting is clearly to take stock of the security situation as it exists. Also, of course, India's own defense options, its own offensive options, the readiness, the planning for it. The EM is there. The CCS is going to be tomorrow. Usually, CCS ratifies certain decisions that are taken. Yeah. So clearly, a conversation is happening right now, which is result orientated. Is it going to be tomorrow sort of signed off? Whatever decision is taken, will it be signed off tomorrow? Perhaps that's the escalation that we are seeing within, internally. There has also been, and I found that something intriguing. I don't want to give away things, obviously, but as you know, tourists have been asked to clear out now of 48 locations, tourist locations in Kashmir. So clearly, there are things afoot. People are being removed, moved away. We're seeing bunkers now being cleaned up. Those are the pictures, the live pictures coming from that meeting, and you can see all the top now.
I think the service chiefs. The service chiefs are also present. Yeah, so clearly, not just the CDS, it's also the service chiefs who are present. So there is a clear security assessment that is happening.
It could be a lot of things. Yeah. You know, there could be an assessment, a taking stock. Remember, if you're going to go kinetic this time, and it's going to be visible, you know, Zach has been pointing this out repeatedly, visible action. You have to be prepared for visible repercussions. Yeah. It's not as if Pakistan is going to quietly slink away. Yeah. There's going to be a visible repercussion. Are we preparing for that? What is happening?
Here's my question. Yeah, not just love to be a fly on the wall, but when Balakot happened, these meetings were not open. These meetings were clandestine. They were quiet. They are not there for pictures being released, and this is at a time that post Balakot, the Pakistanis are expecting something kinetic in that region. They are on red alert. They may have had 5-6 sleepless nights, but they perhaps will be ready to have a few more sleepless nights because they don't know when Bharat is going to strike. But is this also perhaps somewhere to try and fuel up the posturing to say something's going to happen, and keep that edge, you know, keep Pakistan on the edge.
I think something is definitely happening on the ground. The fact that all three service chiefs are there is very, very significant, which means that it's either taking stock of plans and whatever countermeasures that Pakistan will take, are we ready for those countermeasures? Or it is that something has already happened in terms of kinetic action on the ground. Also separately, even as this meeting is happening, the DGISPR, which is the sort of publicity wing of the ISI, they are having a press conference at 6:30 local time there in Pakistan. So they will also likely announce something. So I have a feeling tonight is going to be an important one because it is also the 1 week of the Pahalgam attack. And I just want to take forward what Rahul was saying. There are two parts to this response from India. One is the most immediate, most pressing one, which is that these 4 terrorists who unleashed that carnage exactly a week ago in Pahalgam, they have to be brought to justice. So I think that's the most immediate step, which will be discussed, and I'm fairly certain that some action in that regard is already happening on the ground. The more medium-term step is, what do you do to make sure that the handlers and the benefactors in Pakistan and within the Pakistan deep state pay? So I think this meeting should be likely about that because the 3 defense chiefs are there. I mean, what does the Navy chief have to do with the active terror operations? I don't think he has anything to do with the active terror operations, neither the air chief. I think this is about a comprehensive 360-degree.
There's also something else that I want to draw your attention to. Politically also, the opposition has been talking about Gayab. The Prime Minister is not visible. Well, here it is. Here he is showing to the world that, look, I am taking stock. I am very much thinking actively about what to do, how to retaliate. So that's one part. This is also, of course, optics and psyops. You have to keep Pakistan on the edge. They have to also think about what's going on. Is it in, as he says, it's going to be a night fraught with implications? Is it going to be a sleepless night for Pakistan? I don't know.
No, it's already been a week of sleepless nights for the Pak establishment. They are right there at the edge, and this is perhaps.
I mean, there are conversations going on.
Keep upping the anxiety. There's nothing wrong.
So there's a big divide.
So, like you just said, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is not Gayab.
No.
Okay, the politics aside, and whether it lacked brevity, was it distasteful, etc. We'll talk about it in a bit. But the other point is
that 1 second, the EM being present. Is some action imminent that has to be explained to the world? Perhaps back channels. I don't know. But this is a meeting replete with.
In this picture. Don't see the EAM in this picture.
Okay, we were told
but who we see, our Raksha Mantri is there, the CDS is there,
for sure.
the NSA is there, and the 3 service chiefs are there.
So this is about some operations.
Is it about operations? The other thing is that we have to tell our viewers, and we have to remember, the Prime Minister has not said it's a war against Pakistan. The Prime Minister has said it's a war against terror, and we are going to identify, track, punish the perpetrators, the masterminds, their backers,
and those who
all of that. So there is one thing: the agencies first have to identify, track, and punish the perpetrators of Pahalgam, the actual real foot soldiers, those who are there. Track that lineage back to the origins coming in from the other side or behind enemy lines. Then turn around and make a case saying that this is why I'm taking this action for that. So there has to be a step to this. There has to be a method.
And there is a bit of sort of, Zach, you've been looking at some of the reactions that have been coming in. The lack of visible action against those who perpetrated this attack. Questions are being asked now. Was it an intelligence failure? How did they just walk away or melt into the woods? Now, if you just do a mental calculation, if people were hot-footing it, if they were escaping into the woods, in 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, you could have walked uphill how much time? How much distance?
Rahul,
30 kilometers, 25 kilometers?
A peculiar problem here because this is in the middle of the dense forest in the Pir Panjal ranges. This is, by the way, at least one of them, this
Musa.
Musa, the main character who was there, was also involved in the Z-mode tunnel attack that happened 6 months ago. So this is the same module that's been active for a while. The difficulty in catching them, of course, you can't give the excuse of terrain or the fact that it's hard to get them. Obviously, those are questions that the security establishment needs to answer. But certainly after Pahalgam, I think there's no excuse for them still not being accounted for in some form of fashion.
I think people who are aware of Jammu and Kashmir and especially the Pir Panjal ranges, it is very easy to melt away or blend into with the local people because of the similarity in height, weight, look and gait, and you dump your ammunition. You hide your ammunition, stash it away somewhere to get them. So, but in this
meeting, and the people who are there at this meeting, and the fact that there's a CCS tomorrow announced very far in advance. So you have to begin to look at the possible conversations that could be happening with these individuals. There's only going to be a limited range of conversations that you have with individuals
I think
which
the
are
fact
drawn
that
from
the
defense.
Navy chief and the air chief are there, in addition to the CDS and the chief of army staff, is to show that there is going to be some kind of a comprehensive, if not, action, but certainly comprehensive plan. Because you don't know how the other side is going to react. The best wars are about preparation, about being defensive as to what the enemy, how the enemy.
Be ready for preemptive in terms of the repercussions or to how to outflank them, outmaneuver them. But I'm going to come back to the same point, that the government of the day, the agencies have to first show that the killers have been neutralized, the brutes have been neutralized, and that they came from the other side. That where they came from, what their origins are, has to be proven. Because even with October 7, Hamas's role was identified. Palestinian Islamic Jihad's role was identified. Their cadre were marked. And thereafter the response came through and said they came from there, they've gone back there, so we're going in to hunt them. So this part is something that we will have to do as a nation. And we know they've come from there. It's about putting the evidence on the table to say this is the thing, and that's why
the rest of the world.
But I tell you, in Pakistan, I've been reading all their newspapers today, and right up till about the last 20 minutes. And whether it's the Dawn or it's the Chronicle or it's the Pakistan Today, etc., all of them are trying to question the proof that India seems to be alluding to suggest that these are cross-border actors. So they're saying that none of these people belong to us. This is inborn, India-originating dissent groups who are doing what they're doing.
Correct.
I don't know why the Prime Minister jumped,
we know
according to them, why the Prime Minister, why India is jumping to take all these sort of actions against Pakistan. We've done nothing.
No, I think at some level, this is also psyops happening, right? I mean, you have the Pakistanis. I think Khwaja Asif again said, there's going to be war in 2 or 3 days. I mean, that's not how wars are fought. You don't, preempt the defense minister of your enemy country.
I'm going to come day after tomorrow at this time, be ready with your guns because I'm coming on my guns.
That's really not how wars are fought. I think some of this is also psyops, but like I said, I'm curious also. The fact that the 3 defense chiefs are there, the national security advisor is there, and the Raksha Mantri is there.
See, the other
something is afoot.
No, and not just that. We have to be aware that we don't only have enemy at the western front, we have enemies at the eastern and northeastern fronts too. So this could also be that if there is any kinetic movement here, what could be the possible reactions from the other side, and how best are we going to be able to cover our flanks?
Forces deployed
and where they are.
At the LAC also.
And where they are. And the other thing is that if I have to go to a particular region, if that is claimed sovereign Bharatiya territory, is that then an act of war onto the sovereignty of another nation, or is it within my own claimed territory? And do I get into that space, and then how do I occupy that space? What do I do? There are a lot of things, but in this part...
On that issue, Pakistan is shooting itself in the foot if it's going to hold the Shimla agreement in abeyance, because then, of course, you don't recognize
line of LOC is no longer sacrosanct.
India claims all of
the exact phrase they've used is, we reserve the right to express or pull out of the. It's not like they're saying that we will pull out of the Shimla agreement. But again, like I said, this is exactly 1 week after the Pahalgam attack. It's an important meeting that's happening at the Prime Minister's residence. The Raksha Mantri, the 3 tri-service chiefs, the Chief of Defence Staff, they're all there. And I think it's really sort of taking stock of where we reached in this last week. And more importantly, I have a feeling it's about.
Let's go back to 2019, February 2019, when this happened. 12 days later was when Balakot happened.
Correct.
In those 12 days, there was a nation that was getting very, very impatient. There was a nation that was asking questions of what is the Prime Minister doing and how are we responding. But the nation, with the CCS, with the government, they had one punitive intelligence that, or cognizable intelligence, which said that these people have been trained here and this is where they are coming. They also had information about Balakot and that there are 300 to 400 jihadis waiting to get in. So there was an action that was said, and that was to avenge the killing of 45 Jawans, security personnel. In this case again, and by then the perpetrator there had been neutralized, some of the others had been identified. Yes, the final person who coached them took 6-8 months later down, they were hunted down close by. But yes, I'm just saying in this case, there has to be an immediate action which is close by. closer
which is the
home.
four who
the
who
4
carried
or
out the
6 or
attack.
whoever they have been neutralized, or there's been some accountability there, and the identity is established to what is being claimed, that this is an ex-para commando who's been trained by the Pakistani military, and then he's come into
Which
India
is why,
to do what he's
when
doing.
the,
Bharat
when
do
the
what
PM
he's doing.
spoke in Bihar last week, he said we will punish the perpetrators as well as their backers. I mean, it's a careful use of that phrase. So who are these backers? And which is why I think this Musa character is important, because if they're able to establish the fact that he's received some kind of training from an established military facility or through established military personnel, then I think that changes the whole paradigm of the nature of the response.
Absolutely. We're also assuming that the nature of the response will be belligerence, visible belligerence from our side. Perhaps they're also discussing how to, at some level or the other, destabilize Pakistan.
This is
There
But
is.
those are long-term.
Those are all conversations that all options, as they say, are on the table.
Just humor me on this. I'm saying this is just perhaps in a limited way 3 points. One is that the Prime Minister certainly is not Ghayab. He's right there in the thick of it. 2, it is to tell the Pakistanis, you can't sleep. We are not going to let you sleep, and you're going to have to take those stress pills and anxiety pills, anti-anxiety pills. Third part, that all 3, along with the CDS and the Raksha Mantri and the NSA, have to be present even if there is a non-kinetic maneuver that is happening. To say that if there is a non-kinetic maneuver that happens, what could be the kinetic repercussions to which we have to defend ourselves? How many regions do we need to clear up, and what's going to happen? Is that a possibility? Is it possible that everybody is moving troops and the Pakistanis are moving their troops to their eastern borders, but some action is happening somewhere else altogether, and then all they have to do is, in frustration, they fire at us?
There's a lot of. If you just game this for about 30 seconds, indulge me as they say. Look, I mean, if you're going to strike visibly and you're going to maybe hit targets that are in civilian areas, there's always a danger of collateral damage. Then obviously the repercussion will be like for like. Is there an assessment going on as to how you're going to ensure that people, ordinary Indians, are also safe from...
They don't come into the line of fire.
They don't come into the line of fire. So there are a lot of balls that are up in the air. You have to really judge. It's not simple. We've seen a war that has broken out 3 years back in Ukraine. Lots of cities flattened, bombed, etc., etc. There are repercussions. You've seen it in Israel.
Israel's war has taken 1.5 years and they've still not wiped out
I think we need to close as well. I mean, Israel is still 1.5 years into this war against Hamas, and it's not closed yet. Russia is 3 years into the war against Ukraine. It's still not closed yet. And please remember, it's Prime Minister Modi who said this is not the era of war, and then he can't be seen as the one who's starting a war.
No, but but we can't be seen as a nation
who
who
are going to
back
back
off.
this operation has to be very specific. What is your objective?
The Prime Minister only today said we got a very steep target and we have limited time. So we got to do lots in little time. He assuaged it to Viksit Bharat, but then we know that there was perhaps some information or some intention, intended there, and some signals there. As we go across to Shivani, just leaving you with this thought that all the Tanzeems and all of them, the Pakistanis have moved them to one safe haven, to one location. Do we perhaps know where they are? Think about it. It's plain speak now.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. It's been 7 days since the devastating terror attack at the hands of radical Islamists in Pahalgam. Indian government has since vowed unimaginable action. After putting the so far sacrosanct Indus Water Treaty in abeyance, sealing borders and asking all Pakistani nationals to leave, India is now mulling more actions. Priority is to ensure that economically the already weakened back of the Pakistan government needs to be broken further.